All right, currently it's Thursday, June 11th. We're clearly coming off the heels of a lot. I think that's the best way to put it. There was a lot that happened this week in the CrossFit world. And one of the big questions affiliate owners are asking themselves, members are asking the affiliate owners are you going to continue to be a CrossFit affiliate? So let's tackle that tough subject. Which one of you wants to speak on it first? Fern, you want to go?
Sure, I'll go. I so I don't recommend either or. Same thing I did with COVID. And this is not me taking a neutral stance. I, I think some affiliates need to go. I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but there's a lot. You could say that you could argue the same thing on both sides. That say people are saying that CrossFit has hurt their brand, and I could argue just as easily that crappy gyms hurt CrossFit's brand, and that some of those need to go away. So now, with regard to this, some people are making a decision to rebrand or de-affiliate, and we should probably delineate between those two because they're not the same.
They're
So
very, very different. I think
they're
that's
very
my
different.
biggest beef.
Yeah. So if it is an actual de-affiliation, that in my mind is an entirely separate conversation because there are in my mind, some pretty significant ramifications if you continue to run your box exactly the way that you run it.
I'd be
So,
interested to know, I mean, you two are two boxes that have currently kept your affiliation. I'd be interested to know of the boxes that kept their affiliation, specifically in the United States, how many members actually quit?
I know I've heard of a handful, but I've not seen or heard of a story that was this like everybody just walked out. And again, I think we may or may not have talked about this before hitting record the other day, but there are absolutely, and I don't even know this, but I feel confident making this statement. There are some gyms that this is far more significant than others, where geographically where they're located, the demographic of their gym, all of that paints an entirely different picture for what this whole scenario means to their community. So acknowledging that, yes, it is a significant thing for some people. For others, and I would actually argue that for the majority, it's not. And if it is, I have my own set of thoughts of why this incident is somehow had such an impact on your community. Again, separate topic, but I'll let you go, Todd.
Yeah, I was just going to say I agree with that. It's like we've had a handful of people that are obviously aware of what's going on. Most of them have questioned, how is this going to impact us or me personally? And for the most part, it's all just been like, hey, you've led us this far, and whatever you guys decide, we're supporting you going forward. So it's, for the most part, it's people, for us, understand the difference between our brand and our business and the headquarters brand and business, and one person of that brand and business. And so we've had support there, which is nice. But like you said, it's going to depend on where you're located and what your demographic is, that dictates some of that. But the other piece of this thing is, I think the people that decided to de-affiliate or said that they were considering it based on the outcome, they were demanding change. And I respect that, right? I don't think we'd be in this scenario and things wouldn't have changed if people hadn't been willing to take the action that they took. Now, that being said, they took action, and within, 48 hours, CrossFit took action. Now, they might not be completely satisfied at this point of, what is the full outcome of the action that CrossFit headquarters took. But if you're fighting for a cause and you are doing something in order to initiate change, there's been change happen. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's happened. So where are you going from here? So I think it boils down really to the, why were you planning on doing this? Is it because you wanted change, or was it because you wanted out? Now, if you wanted out, I think this was an easy out for you, and now you're out and do your own thing, and good luck to you. If it was, you're doing this because I love the community, I want it to stay strong, but I need to see change at the top of it, at least that change has been initiated. Where it goes and how it completely happens it remains to be seen, but it has done enough at this point to pacify me. And I'm, we talked about before on how proud I am of the community, and I would hate to jump ship and abandon it. Based on this scenario and based on the fact that change has been made. That's what we called for. That's what I asked for. That's what I've seen. And so for now, I'm sticking with it moving forward.
And I think what you said there is important, which is change is initiated, which I would also think it's fair to say that it's not done. I think we will see, it's odd, and it's not odd that the extent with which people demand change and the timeliness with which they demand it is wholly unrealistic. And I mean, it's Thursday. This happened on Saturday. The world exploded, and by Monday morning, people had made this decision. I'm like, it's literally Monday morning. Like
it was Sunday.
Well, Sunday, but I mean,
but it was Sunday when that happened. But so that my point
Sunday
is,
people were reacting.
Yeah,
all those videos were going up on Sunday.
We haven't even got to the work week yet. It's just like, holy shit, man! Like you should pump the brakes a little bit and give them an opportunity to try to do something, to give them a chance to take action, because again, no matter how anybody feels about it, this is a fact, and it does not matter how you feel about it. He owns 100% of the company, and it's not like you can just pry it out of his hands.
I think with the de-affiliation topic, there's really three minor within there. One, you just touched on how fast people were reacting. People did not give CrossFit nor the higher ups an opportunity to do anything. Secondly, it's what change will make you change your mind, if you decided to de-affiliate. I mean, they put in a CEO, yes, like you just said, Fern, he still owns 100%. So what are your expectations of change? Which is, again, it's still only Thursday. And then lastly, if you decide to de-affiliate, what does that even mean? Because I believe most boxes that are claiming they're de-affiliating are just removing one word from their name.
Which is now rebranding, which I have a whole separate.
But it's not really. It's not even.
But it's not.
I guess
it's
it
not,
is rebranding.
It's a half-ass, not well thought out rebrand. But it's also, in my personal opinion, now makes you look like an asshole, because if you keep your affiliate and you made this grandstand kind of scene about it, and then you don't actually do it, well, now I think you're a piece of shit. You're just, that's my personal opinion, and I'm not telling people not to de-affiliate. Like by the way, like if you don't believe in that stuff, then by all means go do Orange Theory. Like I don't care.
Well, I think I disagree with that, because I think Todd's point is accurate. If all of these affiliates didn't make a stance, whether it was Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday, I don't know that change would have happened. There were some other things on the back end that the three of us are privy to, but I don't know if the affiliates didn't react that way if Dave Castro would have been appointed CEO. But I think the bigger picture is, you take CrossFit Rife and you call it Rife Fitness and it's business as usual, you're still a CrossFit box.
That was where I led with this, and there's a difference between I'm de-affiliating because I want to separate from this brand, and de-affiliate means I am no longer associated with CrossFit in any way, shape, or form. That's what that means. Meaning, you can't be doing 2159 thrusters and pull-ups in your gym because that's fucking CrossFit. Like, people are like, well, what do you mean?
But people aren't going to do that. There's a number of gyms that won't affiliate in the first place that are still doing those workouts as they are. Now, I think that's the difficult spot, is like, what are you going to claim that you are doing?
That's my point. It's a very simple question. If you guys are not doing CrossFit in here, what exactly are you doing in here?
And part of that is on CrossFit, right? I was watching, Roz was taking a Peloton boot camp class, and I heard the instructor yell out in one class, AMRAP, hand release push-ups, and another movement that were clearly, not created by, but made popular by CrossFit. So at some point we have to look back on what Coach Glassman and what CrossFit did. I mean, they took these movements, but it's on them as well that anyone can basically use them without using a handful of copyrighted and trademarked words.
Right.
But I also think it's disingenuous for these boxes that are de-affiliating. I think it's a lack of integrity to then say, we're still going to do this, this, and this, which is clearly CrossFit. It's like, do two wrongs make a right there?
Well, I think it's a really poorly thought out plan. That's my whole contention with it, which is if you want to de-affiliate, like I listen, I don't have enough time to walk around and try to convince everybody that that's a poor decision. And for some people, it is a good decision. Like that's also worth noting. But it wasn't enough time for that decision for me to rename my business for you to put enough thought into it. That's my whole argument about this whole thing. Like whether you do or not is actually not my point. My point is it was completely irrational with regard to timeliness. You put no thought into it. I would bet you changed the name on your Instagram page and you changed it on your website. But if I scroll through your website and through your Facebook and your Instagram feed, it's going to take me 3 seconds to find a reference to CrossFit. So again, like if you're going to do that, then you need to do it in a timely fashion and think about whatever this new brand is going to be for you. Whether you're going to de-affiliate or not, the process is still the same. I have to come up with a new story. I have to come up with a new name. I have to come up with a new way to communicate that and a new way to roll out what that change actually means. Because if it doesn't mean anything, well, then it doesn't mean anything.
No, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, we have to distinguish between de-affiliating and rebranding. And I think most boxes are thinking they're synonymous when they're
not. So rebranding, it would be similar to what Todd already has in place. Right?
But
so Todd,
go ahead. Even then, I don't know that I agree with that because say Todd was like, because he's Drive Fitness and what are you, CrossFit Drive?
CrossFit DF, yep.
CrossFit DF. If he said, I'm eliminating CrossFit DF. When I show up to class this afternoon, guess what we're doing?
CrossFit.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tough conversation to have when people come in. They're like, all right, cool. What do you guys do? How do you explain it?
Yeah, all these boxes that are de-affiliating.
You know, it's a shitty. You know how sleazy you sound. I mean, is this a CrossFit gym? Nah, but we do CrossFit, and you're just like, I immediately am just like, oh, that's kind of fucked.
Right, you're the same people that we've gone after for years. We're the same people as the boxes down the road that we get mad at for basically hijacking CrossFit. I would challenge them to explain what they're doing at their box without using the word CrossFit. To a new member, somebody walks in, right. Hey, what do you do? Don't use the word CrossFit.
And by the way to put yourself on the short list for the legal team when you just don't renew next year. I mean, it's just, again, it's all poorly thought out, or not thought out at all. And again, I'm not saying don't rebrand. Plenty of people have done it successfully, but there was thought put into it. They did actually change the methodology they used within the gym. There are some people that have done that successfully, and then there's other people that are just ripping off the methodology and calling it, Ackerman's Fitness Studio.
That's catchy.
It is, yeah.
You can only wear polo shirts there, though. To work out, you have to wear polo shirts.
For the record, I'm wearing a Lululemon polo shirt today, and I feel very stylish.
And he told us that he just left the gym and wore that to work out in.
Yeah, I did a little pump before this podcast. But, I think it's okay if people are de-affiliating. We're not knocking that, but I think goes back to what we've spoken about a few times. There needs to be a little more thought behind it. And I also think while there's probably some upheaval from members, I think a lot of members enjoy being a part of that community. The games are going to happen this year. The games are going to wait, are you questioning that, Todd? I mean, it's fair.
They're questionable based.
Do you know that for a fact?
What's going on with COVID in general?
California, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's a foregone conclusion. I think there's still a decent chance that could not happen.
They're hopeful. Yeah.
I spoke to the governor of California and Dave Castro this morning, a Zoom call.
Breaking.
What was the governor's name, Jay? What's the governor's of California's name?
Governor Caladocious.
That's correct. You are.
So, do you know his name?
I do, but I'm not going to make you look like a complete idiot.
Yeah,
his name is Gavin Newsom, and I could also tell you the mayor of several cities there. But anyway.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah.
It's called paying attention. Yeah.
So, okay, I misspoke maybe. Let's assume, I mean, we've seen the plans that, Dave submitted, requesting space and time and all that. I've seen it posted online. let's assume we move forward with that. Are your members not going to watch? If the world fixes itself and next year they're back in Madison or wherever they are you not showing up? Are you not watching the live stream? I think that's something to consider. And not that you have to stay an affiliate to watch the CrossFit Games, but your members want to be a part of it. I don't think, the community fitness, challenge has the same ring.
No, it does not.
You're being quiet, Todd.
I'm just thinking through. I mean, obviously we're all biased, right? So it's
100% biased.
It's a tough thing in there, and so I'm trying to have some objective opinions to this whole entire thing. But
I guess my sole criticism for this whole thing is I think it's shallow in nature, meaning I'm going to move away, but I'm only going to move far enough away from this thing that it benefits me, but I'm still going to keep the vast majority of it.
Yeah,
that's my criticism.
I mean, you're short in the short term. You're hoping that it benefits you, or it allows, it does benefit you. But it's like I mentioned before. It's like I appreciate the people that demanded change, got change. So now, what are you going to do with that? It goes back to why are you doing this? Why did you plan, or why did you state that you wanted to de-affiliate? If it's because you wanted change, you got some change. Are you going to hold out and see, or is there enough change to allow you to buy back in, or are you just out and over it for sure and for good? I mean, I don't know the answers to those things, but I'm just curious. What's the true why behind this? Or is it just that you've been frustrated enough in the past and maybe you don't feel that you get enough value from your affiliation anyways? Maybe you think that nobody comes to your gym because they search out CrossFit in the first place. And if those are all the reasons you weren't sure that you want to be an affiliate in the first place, and this was just an opportunity for you to do it without getting any backlash for stepping away, then I guess, go for it. Keep doing your thing.
And there are plenty of affiliates that are at least putting it out there that that's why they do it. And one of the biggest reasons is they feel like there's been a lack of, connection between HQ and the affiliates. And I think we may see an improvement there with the change in CEO.
And while we are all biased, I think all three of us could acknowledge that criticism is 1,000% valid.
Yeah. I mean, having owned 3 affiliates, you guys currently owning affiliates, I think we're all a little different as well. Maybe our expectations weren't as high, or maybe it's because we had insight to what was going on oftentimes that we never felt like we weren't getting enough. But I think a lot of affiliates feel like they deserved more from HQ, whether that's right or wrong. And they jumped at that opportunity to be like, peace, I'm out because of this. But my question would be, change was made. How much change is enough for you to come back and say, okay, we see that you're making an improvement?
Well, it's also just a weird topic anyway, because you said I want change when there was no definitive request for what said change was. And then there's change and you're like, that's not enough. And I was like, okay, well, for it to ever have been enough, we would have to have predetermined what the change would have been before making the change.
Well, and there might be people that have that decision. There might have been people that, I'm sure there are people out there that,
for sure, I'm sure that like he has to separate and fucking sell the company, like whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. And so that degree of change is not for us to try to justify for people or not. It's for them to make their own decisions. But I just hope that if, same deal, the why behind this thing, if you want it out, this is your excuse and you're out and you're going to be happy to be out, good on you, do your thing. If you did this because you love the community, you want to see it stay strong, and you made that statement to see change, hopefully you see that change has been initiated, and either that's good enough for you or you stay dialed close enough to see what continued change seems to happen. And if it continues down the road, it looks like it potentially is going now, that you're willing to buy back in. Because I think we all know, if you've been in this community for any amount of time at all, you know that it's obviously bigger than one man. You know it's an inclusive community. You know, it's done so many great things, not only to us individually, but look at what it's done to the other people in your lives or in your gym and around the world. And it's like, man, I would hate to see that all thrown away over the course of, you know, a couple days and some ill-timed things. And I don't think there's any justification for those things that happen. But, you know, I still think there's a lot of good to be done with CrossFit, and I hope that there is. And I hope people are willing to potentially give it a second chance if it looks like those changes are moving things in the right direction.
And you know, going back to what we said earlier, that was a really fast change. You know, the tweet went out Saturday, you know, the world blew up on Sunday, and on Tuesday, there's a new CEO, and Coach Glassman, you know, quote unquote, retired. Those that are calling for him to sell his business, it's like, let's say CrossFit is worth, let's call it 50 million. When he bought his half back, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I think the business was valued at 34 million. He paid 17 for half. So let's call it 50 million. Like, oh, I'll just write a check. Like, here we go. Like, you got to be, I mean, and it's also just, you can't force someone to sell his you know, brainchild.
It's not a publicly traded company. There is no other partner. And then, but it's just a weird scenario. It's just, you're like, he's got to sell the company. And so really, I mean, you say it a different way. You'd be like, so we're just going to give this dude $50 million because you think he's a terrible person. I'm like, that's also kind of
I'd
weird.
Be like, yes, please. I'm out. I never have to do anything again.
It's just a weird thing.
Regardless of what happens, you're not going to sell a company in 48 hours. Like, it's not, that whole thing's not going to happen that quickly, right? People have demanded a board of directors and things like that. Once again, that ain't going to be hired and created in 48, 72 hours. It's like, give them some time to actually think through this. One, you got to put the fire out first. And from there, take probably a step back, get your wits about you, get your feet back underneath you, and then start to make some decisions and try to figure out how to move forward. But the same deal, if they would have gone through this process doing a ton more things, they potentially had the risk of making decisions based out of not having all the information at this point as well. You know, they could end up in a point where they've made rush decisions that aren't the right decisions. So change has been made. I think it's going to continue to be made. I think we need to hold tight and see how everything shakes out and go from there.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, we don't know. Maybe he is talking to venture capitalists. Maybe there is a board being put together, but, you know, I don't think a business should be forced to make that public right now. No. And I also don't think they should be, you know, I don't know, and I don't want this to come off wrong, and, you know, that's not what this episode is about, but something that's just been on my mind is, like, at what point do people forgive? I don't know.
They don't. Not today. There is no road to redemption in today's society.
Murderers and rapists eventually get out of jail, but we're gonna hold one dumb tweet against somebody for the rest of his life. Like, why is everyone like calling for the step down, the sale, and not like he's gone dark? Like, he's basically gone to jail. Granted, it's probably a mansion in Hawaii, you know, but it's like, at what point, I don't think it's today, but I feel like the world is just like never forgiving anyone. And I think that's a terrible place to be as an individual yourself. Like, you know, the Martin Luther King quote where it's like, hate doesn't drive out hate.
Well, I don't know what that time frame is, but if we were to use something else, like, how long did it take everybody to forget about the Papa John's thing?
I don't even know what happened.
Right, exactly. So I don't
That's
think,
my point.
Right. At some point, this is going to blow over.
And he still owns a significant portion of the company, by the way.
Oh, well, he did.
But I don't see people. But I don't see people not eating pizza. You know.
Yeah. Right. Sooner or later, that's another piece with the affiliate thing. Is like, this too shall pass. Right. This is going to blow over to some degree. What's going to remain after the fact, is still to be seen. But at some point, this isn't going to be the hot button item. It's going to be something else. As we all know, like, society has plenty of things that people get passionate about. So what happens then?
you just have to wait. We just have to wait for the next crisis to
Yeah,
arrive,
I mean,
basically.
I something I've been thinking about. You guys know I'm a huge fan of the MMA and UFC. I mean, the biggest star in the UFC is Conor McGregor, who literally on video punched an old man in the face at a bar. Everyone's still buying that pay-per-view the next time he fights, right? There's a well-known fighter in the heavyweight division that has domestic assault charges against him. Like, people still love him. Like, I'm not saying support him today, but I'm saying it's something that needs to be in our minds. At what point do we forgive someone?
It's also, I mean, at some point we have to acknowledge the just the hypocrisy of society in general, which is eventually everybody's gonna get over it. And it's just like, okay, I was outraged for a day. And I'm not even saying the outrage wasn't warranted. I'm not saying that what happened wasn't bad and wasn't wrong, and that and I'm also not saying that there aren't things that need to be addressed. But it's just kind of like the overreaction, largely in my opinion, due to social media, is a lot of the problem. Just like, I can right now chastise this person, and we can create this wave of objection and force, which to some degree is good, but can't, just like everything, every tool can be used for evil, if you will. And I'm not saying that like him stepping down was evil, but I hope I'm kind of explaining that well, but it came off a little choppy. But
Yeah, no, Todd, when he and I spoke the other day, you opened my eyes to that this was necessary to make a change for whatever reason, because you didn't like the tweet or because you felt CrossFit wasn't providing the affiliates what they needed. And I accept that. But now, and it's the whole point of the topic, now what? Now what?
Yeah. The community is strong. If this doesn't show that, nothing will, right? Look at what's happened in a couple of days. It's a strong community, man. I'd hate to see it just dissipate.
And I don't want to start this whole a rabbit hole, and I don't want to point out names, but I think a lot of names are taking advantage of the situation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are just entrepreneurially trying to be opportunistic. I mean,
yes.
the number of emails that I got on Sunday that were something to the tune of, thinking of rebranding, we can help, was just all damn day. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, your businesses literally exist because of CrossFit.
Between that and people talking about starting their own system and mentor groups that are like, hey, let us help you rebrand. Like, there's all sorts of people out there that, and again, like, they're leaving because they're against what he said, but at the same time, they're being very opportunistic.
I think there's far less people that are leaving because they're actually 100% outraged and disgusted by that, and there's a lot of other people that are using it as an excuse to throw blame in a direction, because we've all been locked in our houses. The affiliates, we could all agree, have just been kicked in the nuts for 3 months nonstop. You can't open your gym, you can't open your gym, you can't open your gym. Now there's riots. There's probably an affiliate that's been burned down somewhere. I don't know of one, but it's probably not out of the realm of possibility that their lives have been destroyed. And then this comes out, and now you feel like your name has been tarnished. So it's not unreasonable for people to feel this way. It's just like, just take a pause, like, catch your breath, think about it for a second. What does this all mean for me? And I think that's a whole separate discussion, which I also think is valid. It's introspective and painful, but I think it's valid, is that if this really had that significant effect on your business, then we need to talk about your business.
That's a good point. I mean, if I were at a box, I don't even want to get into it, but I feel like I'm supporting Todd. I'm supporting Fern's business. Yes, I know you guys are a part of the bigger business of CrossFit, but me leaving your box is not supporting the person that's helped me make this change in my life. And
I got an email today. I got an email for today from a member that said, and it just led with, I just want you to know I'm not canceling my membership. Yes, I have issues with this. Yes, it makes me upset. But I support what you guys do, And this is a person that came from another gym that was sent to me from another affiliate owner. And they said, a lot of fantastic things have come from my time in the box. And she put that in quotes, in the box, that I can't discount, and I'm not going to downplay those things. And she's like, I support you. I support the other gym. So thank you for you guys are doing. You're amazing. And I was like, thank you. Like, and that is a story that has probably happened in thousands and thousands of gyms. And so I don't think that is unique to me. I'm sure, Todd, I bet you have one, right? Like,
yeah. It made me pull up a text that I got, which was very similar to that. But it's like it goes back to, in my opinion, how strong this community is, what this does. It's way bigger than pull-ups and thrusters. It's way bigger than one person. It is such a big, life-changing thing in so many different ways. I'm still proud of everything that I've been a part of in CrossFit, what I've gotten from CrossFit. I don't respect what has happened currently, but I'm still hopeful for the future. That's for sure.
And I think we want to end this by saying we don't downplay the feelings that these box owners are going through, and every community is dealing with it differently. And like you kicked off with earlier, Fern, like based on where you are in the world, your demographic, I'm sure it's challenging for you. We're just giving you, I think, a vantage point that comes from a little bit of like, hey, let's take a pause, let's breathe, and then talk about this versus what went down on Sunday and Monday on the affiliate level.
And if you're gonna rebrand, at least do it the right way. That's typically a 6 month to 12-year or 12-month process, right?
Let's have that conversation on our next show.
We can, and because it's a long conversation. And my point is simply that if you're gonna do it intelligently, so that it actually benefits you and it aligns with all the things that you want to happen, not because you're mad.
We'll talk about that on the next episode. But yeah, I just don't want people listening to think, hey, you guys, I mean, sure, we are being biased, but we're also being open-minded. I mean, Fern, Todd, myself, I think we're all pretty open-minded people. And if you came to us and you were like, here's why I'm doing it, we got your back. We're not mad at you. We don't want you to stop listening to the show. We don't think you should, not communicate with us, but we're just giving you an alternative opinion. Fair enough?
Yeah, I think it's fair.
All right. We're out of time.
You're out of time.
I'm going to go out. I can do really anything in this shirt. I can go to the gym. I can go out to dinner. I could do a lot of things right now. So who knows what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the
But you won't do anything. You sit in the house and do nothing.
Yeah.
And probably wear rubber gloves and use Clorox. Drink Clorox out of your glass or something.
I'm doing
sure you
shots
don't have
of
any
Clorox,
germs.
yeah. On the hour, I do power hour with Clorox. Do you guys ever do power hour back in college?
Shining a flashlight down your throat.
Power hour was, every time you do it, you just wind up profusely vomiting.
You're still recording, right?
Yeah, we're still recording.
Okay.
Why, you got a story about power hour?
No, I'm good. I just was waiting for your story to come out.
Oh no, it's just that I usually wind up throwing up in the bar. But anyway, we're out of here. Thanks for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. How cool is that? There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, so it becomes super simple. Some of these episodes with Fern or Todd or myself chatting with one another, we've done right within the app itself. Anchor will make it easy to distribute your podcast to all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make an awesome podcast in one place. All you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Come on, who doesn't have Spotify at this point? And if you were unaware, Spotify now is offering podcasts. That's right, on Spotify you can listen to all your favorite artists, but also podcasts in one place for free. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now, Best Hour of Their Day. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Premium users can even download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, something I always do before I hop on a plane. And you can even easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram and other social media platforms. Here's the deal. If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app, search for Best Hour of Their Day on Spotify, or browse some other podcasts if you want. You can find them in your library tab. And also make sure to follow me so you never miss an episode of Best Hour of Their Day. Thanks again for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't already, do us a favor, head over to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback for either Fern or myself, hit us up, besthouroftheirday@gmail.com, or send us a DM over on Instagram at Best Hour of Their Day. Once again, we couldn't do this without the amazing community, and you are a part of it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting Best Hour of Their Day.